So I was into DreamWorks animation recently and decided to take a break from Disney to shift my focus onto their movies. Not only that, but I also thought that their 2019 feature film Abominable should be the start of this chapter, if you like to call it. By the way, yes, I am aware that the 2010s weren't the best times for DreamWorks, but that's a topic for another day. Now, when I went to go see Abominable, I set my expectations pretty low on this one, but after watching it, it was surprisingly a bit better than I thought it was going to be. I might as well start off with the biggest highlight of the movie. There is no denying that the animation in this is absolutely gorgeous. As it is a collaboration between DreamWorks and the Chinese company Pearl Studio, it makes sense that the film is set in China. Starting off with the character design, their looks are pretty down to earth, but also feature some artistry to make them look more organic. As for the character animation, this is where it stays more realistic with smooth and natural movements, on top of some great textures to make the picture more lively looking. I also like how they handled Everest like a gorilla with the mind of a child filled with wonder.
Yum.
With the backgrounds, they help the movie seem big, and thanks to the vibrant colors and the amount of detail that it has, it really shows the various locations that our characters go to. However, the real highlight of the movie's visuals are the effects, since the Yeti has some magical power and the film takes full advantage of it to add more wonder into the scenery. No matter on which side you are with this feature, you can't deny that this animation is some of DreamWorks' best looking ones. Okay, now with that out of the way, let's get into the big element of the feature, the story. I may not have seen a lot of movies, but I can still say that I've heard this kind of plot before. The movie follows Yi, who finds a young Yeti and helps him along with her friends to get him back home to the Himalayas while protecting him from a greedy billionaire. A similar plot can be found in films such as E.T. and The Iron Giant.
Don't worry, I will make sure you get home.
Okay, not the most original story for a DreamWorks movie, so it's up to the execution to make things up. Well, it does, sort of. But not much. I'll say right now that my biggest criticism with this movie is that it is exactly what you expect. But even with a familiar storyline, the film still keeps the story engaging with heartwarming and sometimes even funny moments. Speaking of which, the comedy in this film is a mixed bag. I will admit that some moments did make me chuckle, especially with Jin, and I also like the running gag of that one snake going
There it is.
There it is.
There it is. Really, Dave?
But outside of that, the overall humor isn't anything spectacular and often not even clever in the first place. What else? Well, I can see where at the beginning they demonstrate that Yi wants to go on a trip to see all these different places of China that they actually go to later on. It makes sense and it does help set up the movie's main presentation. The story may have some unoriginal ingredients, but what they've done here is fine and it's still an engaging feature to watch. As for our characters, well, let me just say that it is possible that you've heard from these kinds of characters before. However, what we've got here is still passable in some way. There's Yi, who is the first kid that finds the Yeti and tries to get him back home. In fact, she does also add an emotional aspect with her deceased father, and the only connection with him is his violin. By her side are her friends Peng, the main comic relief who's obsessed with basketball, and Jin, the pessimistic diva who doesn't offer much to the feature, but I can still see what they were going for with his development, plus he does give out most of the better jokes in the film.
I've got blueberries in places where blueberries should never be.
Then you have the villains of the feature, which consists of Mr. Burnish, who wants to capture the Yeti with the help of Dr. Sarah and his army. Out of all the characters in this film, it's understandable that they are the most cliched ones because, like I said before, they are just what you expect. They are the typical bad guy slash evil company who are after the supernatural creature for their own benefit, whether it be for money, fame, or just destroy it altogether. What I didn't expect though, without going into detail for spoiler reasons, is that Mr. British does have a bit of a twist later on in the film, and what happened to Dr. Sarah in the end is especially unexpected. And then there's the Star Yeti himself, Everest. There's no denying that he's the most memorable part of the film since he has some special powers to give the film its own identity. Funny enough, it's actually with the bond between Yi and Everest where the movie would deliver some of its most heart-filled moments.
Is that?
Yeti here? Yup.
There isn't a lot about these characters, but there is enough to like them. And that was Abominable. It wasn't amazing, but it was still a good film nonetheless. If you want to see a funny but still emotional experience, then I guess this is something for you. So that's it, I guess. Comment, like, subscribe, and see you later, folks.